My next claim is that LGBTQ identity is a social contagion.
Finally. Hi, Michael.
Hello. How are you?
I'm Gilbert. Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Gilbert Gonzalez Jr., and I debated Michael Knowles in Jubilee's episode of Surrounded. I don't know that I would say that I won, but I did get him to kind of recant his claim a little bit and backtrack a little bit.
So you make a good point. Obviously, it couldn't be a social contagion all the way down.
So I guess it does kind of count a little bit as a victory. You know, in person, Michael was really sweet. I know that he comes across as this juggernaut of controversial claims, and he's gonna get us, and that's all on purpose, right? There's, I think, a little bit of a character there. But I do also think that off camera, he really wanted to connect with us. I think he really wanted to talk with us. So me and him spent a little bit of time together. Maybe I'll show that near the end of the video. Oh, absolutely. Tell me the day and the place and the time, and I'm there. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, nice
I do watch you a lot, actually.
Thank you. Thank you for watching me. You have great taste in podcasts.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So he looks refreshed and genuinely excited to meet me. I was very open to him. If you watch the full episode, pretty much everyone before me, it got quite contentious with them. So I don't know if he's knowing what to expect. I don't know that I envy anybody that is in that situation to be surrounded by people that all think completely differently than you, polar opposite on any particular issue.
Hey, nice
I do watch you a lot, actually.
Thank you. Thank you for watching me. You have great taste in podcasts.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, this is true. I do watch him a lot. I actually watch a lot of people that are liberal and conservative. I love to listen to different points of view, even if I don't agree with them. Clearly, there's a lot with Michael Knowles that I completely disagree with, but it doesn't stop me from watching somebody else and listening to their train of thought and even being a fan of them, even if I completely disagree with a lot of the things that they say.
So, LGBTQ identity being a social contagion. Your statement was not that it can be. You said that it is.
Yes.
Right? I might be willing to agree with you that it can be, right? Because
his right there told me that he was going to give me a real chance, that he was going to really let me in, because he was probably thinking, oh, wow, like this person probably does want to see if there's middle ground, does want to exchange views and have a conversation, and it just not be like this quip contest of who could own each other back and forth. I think that that's what he noticed about me. I felt like in that moment, I had his attention. I actually was very, very nervous during this conversation with him. I was like, had to do deep breathing tactics. Those of you that have like anxiety and panic attacks, you have to start like, and I was doing that. Whoever edited this video at Jubilee, thank you so much for focusing on his face during some of those moments, because I clearly was like going to pass out.
Is it your belief that it's that every person who is gay or lesbian or bisexual, well, actually, let's go just to the gay, because I'm gay. Yeah. So I'll talk about that. Yeah. I just outed myself. No, I think everybody knew that. Obvious.
It was very important for me to not just start off tackling the entire acronym, because I don't have those voices, right? I'm not trans. I'm not bi. I'm not a lesbian. So for me to establish points first that I can talk about, I had to ask him to agree that we're going to just focus on the gay part, because I'm gay. So that's the voice that I'm bringing to the table. And he agreed. And this is important because this will come up later in the conversation, but let's make sure that we're establishing that now. I'm not talking about bisexual men. I'm talking about gay men, and being gay means you are exclusively attracted to other men when you're a man, or if you're a woman. But again, I'm not a lesbian. I'm a gay man.
Do you believe, this isn't controversial, but that's why we're here. Do you believe that I'm choosing to be gay?
This is the popular framework of a lot of conservative ideology. They mistakenly believe that being gay is a choice. So this was like my litmus test. I had to first see if that was where he's coming from, because then that would tell me what approach to take to debate him.
Oh, no, well, so you make a good point, because obviously it couldn't be a social contagion all the way down, because at some point, you know, there's got to be the first gay guy. Right. I don't know the story of the first gay guy.
Duh, Steve. We all know that, remember?
Okay, be honest. Does this leopard skin make my butt look big? Is it giving? You swear? Okay, good.
Steve was the guy that wanted Adam before Eve got to him. It's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Never mind.
But no, I think it's entirely possible that there could be either some environmental factor that inclines one to have same-sex attraction, or even potentially a genetic factor, though they've never discovered the so-called gay gene. But that is different from LGBTQ identity.
I really do hate the description same-sex attracted, because all that is a way to avoid using the word gay. We all understand, well, we should all understand what gay means. Being gay is about the attraction. It's about being attracted to somebody of the same sex exclusively. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're acting on it. It has nothing to do with conduct. But see, a lot of the conservative movement has aimed to redefine that word gay to better fit into their ideologies. And they're making it seem like being gay means you have to act on it, or you have to walk in that as the ultimate part of your identity. And that's just not true. You're just being honest about the fact that you're exclusively attracted to members of the same sex. It's a faulty ideology. And the reason it's so broken is because there's a willfulness within that ideology to purposely not learn any better. And that makes it very frustrating to have conversations with somebody who believes this way. Because no matter how much science, psychology, or even the person themselves coming to them and bringing information, they're thinking, I can't let that in because then I'm believing the lie of the devil. And you just go in this circle and then no progress ever gets made. I also kind of like the way I flipped my imaginary hair and said, the gay gene. That was kind of fierce. And
it can be in a few different ways. One could either, if one has these same-sex attractions, could still like marry a woman, or could be celibate, or could just not,
Okay, the celibate question we will get to in a second. But the idea that a gay man, marrying a woman is a valid option, I think that that's absolutely outrageous. It's socially irresponsible. It's emotionally irresponsible. It's spiritually irresponsible. This is what I really have a hard time with when it comes to Christians that choose this. Because when you're a Christian, you're supposed to love the other person as your own self, or even get into like this honoring contest. You're supposed to actually consider them sometimes even above yourself. The Bible says that love is not self-seeking. It is not selfish. And for a gay man to want to be accepted by his communities so much that he wants to take on a beard, you know what a beard is? A beard is a female partner that a gay man takes on to himself so that he can appear to be straight. There's another term for it called lavender marriages. It's when somebody is gay or lesbian and they marry somebody else that's either straight or gay and lesbian as an attempt to deceive the communities around them that they are heterosexual. It's very controversial, I know, and we may talk about it a little bit later. And even though me and Michael are not using those words, that's exactly what we're talking about. Michael is advocating for a gay man to marry a woman, not because he thinks that that will cure him. It's not about that for him. It's about the way that it looks. It's the way that it appears to be. As long as it appears externally to be a certain way, what's going on the inside doesn't really matter. And I think that that's backwards from Christianity. God doesn't care about how things look, honestly. He cares about the motives. He cares about what's going on the inside. And I have a scripture to prove it. In Matthew 23:25-29, Jesus goes up to the Pharisees. The Pharisees were the religious leaders of the day. They wore the long flowing robes and they sat in the temple in the seats of honor to get praised by the people, right? Jesus walks up to them like a gangster and he says this to them. For you are so careful to clean the outside of the cup and the dish, but inside you are filthy, full of greed and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee, first wash the inside of the cup and the dish, and then the outside will become clean too. This is how people play church. They think that they can kind of fool God sometimes. As long as I dress it up and make it look nice and go to church and have my wife on my arm, everything looks and appears just right, then I'm a good person. I'm going to heaven. And Jesus, when he walked the earth, said that just reeks in the face of God. You're a hypocrite. Your hearts are far from God. You worship in vain. It's just lip service. God sees the heart. And I don't know how people don't understand that. That's supposed to be a fundamental thing about Christianity, is that you cannot fool God. You cannot dress it up and make it look a certain way and think that that has anything to do with pleasing God. It's the opposite.
Do you think that's ethical for a gay man to marry a woman, to take that spot in her life that could be going to a straight man? That's not loving.
Well,
as a Christian, I'm a Christian.
You should maybe be honest. I wouldn't lie to your wife or anything.
But, I'm gay. We're never going to be into this. I'm never going to be into this. I'm going to hold my breath and all that. But let's do that so that I can get. You're okay with that?
Maybe you should not get married. I'm not encouraging that you do.
I don't think that's a loving thing to do, Michael.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
In that moment where he says, well, maybe you shouldn't get married, I'm not advocating that you should get married. I think that was a little bit of a dig, if I'm being honest. I think that he was just trying to get a leg up on me by throwing in a little jab. That's kind of how I saw that. But I diffused it right away by saying, no, we're not going to go there. I agree with you. I should not get married to a woman, because that wouldn't be a loving thing to do.
I'm not saying that anyone has to do that, but that's one thing that one could do. Or one could just do what...
Well, one could do that. I wanted to say in the moment, well, I could potentially push some old women onto oncoming traffic on the freeway. I could do that. I could drown puppies in front of little children if I wanted to. I could, right? Why say that a man who is gay could marry a woman? Why would you say that unless you think that it's a viable option? Giving your stamp of approval. So of course a gay man could, and that's why I said a lot of gay men do in the church. Of course they do that, but is it ethical? And he couldn't answer that.
You think it's an option? I mean, it happens.
Yeah, plenty of guys do that, yeah.
Closets are places of death. You should never advocate for someone to go back into the closet, because the damage that it does is always irreversible.
I know, of course, especially in the church. A lot of closeted gay men are marrying women. I think we know that. Right. Do you think that that's the correct thing to do, though? Is that ethical to do to that woman, to take that away from her?
I'm actually not sure why Frank was the name of the guy that raised his flag there. I don't know why he raised it for me, because I thought I was making a pretty strong point.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you're going to fulfill the responsibilities of a husband and you're honest with her, I don't know, like provide, keep a roof over their heads, have children,
so be her
raise
father.
the children.
Okay, the children part.
No, don't be her father.
Okay.
I'm glad that I caught the provision point in real time, because a father, right, that's a role for a father to provide for the woman, for his daughter. I don't know. I mean, if you want to start paying for people and just start adopting them into your house and paying for adults, free rent and free food and all of that stuff, hey, be my guest.
Well, you said, you have the provision. Okay, I can do that. But you said have a children. How can I have a child with her?
You would, do you want me to spell it out? I don't.
As a gay man, how can I have a child with her?
Well, if, listen, so I've got... Okay, I lived in New York. I lived in LA. I went to the gayest university in the world. I know a disproportionate number of guys who are a little light in the loafers. Some of them probably could marry a woman. Maybe some of them could not. So they don't have to.
When it comes to lavender marriages, the reason I take an issue with it is because it's not ethical. Literally within the definition of lavender marriage, there's deception. It's to deceive communities, to make people believe that one or both of you are heterosexual when you're not. It plays into heteronormativity by just believing everybody is or should be straight, and that's not true. That's dangerous. That's toxic ideology. Gay people exist, and gay people deserve the right to marry who they want.
So it's external for you then. As long as it appears to be a certain way, it doesn't matter what's going on the inside. Is that what you're telling me?
No, you're asking me how can a man and a woman make a baby, even if the guy's not that into it. I said, I don't know, your mileage may vary.
Abated a marriage.
Actually, yeah. How can a gay man make a baby if he's not into it at all? Remember, this conversation, and I have to bring this up again, is not about bi men. In this situation, I think Michael is bringing up bi men because he knows that he doesn't really have a point to stand on with me. He's losing this debate about homosexual or gay men. So he has to throw in, well, there are some men that are kind of maybe into it. They can go ahead and do that. Well, that's not me. You're segueing away from gay men into bi men, which I think is ethical. Of course, bi men can have ethical relationships with women because they're bi. They're into it. I'm talking about gay men. And usually Michael's good at this. He can be a critical thinker and spot out the holes in arguments with people on the left that he sees as opponents. But yet now he's doing that same kind of thing. When he is cornered, instead of staying on topic, he's now gaslighting and reaching out, making red herrings, making straw man arguments so that he doesn't have to deal with the gay issue, which means you are exclusively attracted to men.
That's what I'm trying to get to the heart of the issue, quite literally, the heart of a gay person to be ethical.
How ironic that I, as a gay man, am actually advocating for the sanctity of marriage right now, unlike Michael's take, which is just, hey, you have a penis, you have a vagina, that makes a marriage, doesn't matter whether or not the guy's into it. I mean, what a cringe thing to even try and advocate for. No, if you're not into it, then don't do it.
To live their life ethically.
I don't think your sexual attractions constitute the entirety of your being.
Oh, I agree with that.
Is he gaslighting me? I didn't say that your attractions constitute the totality of your being. Did you hear me say that?
Yeah.
But in this
context, then I don't think that's the heart of a gay person. But I think it's just an aspect
part of my
you.
identity.
It's an aspect of you.
Your prompt is about identity.
Again, I think he's trying to change the subject because I have him pinned.
Yeah,
right?
but I guess I would go even further. I know guys who are, they didn't marry women and they, hang out just themselves and everything.
Okay.
And but they wouldn't call themselves LGBT activists. They don't wave the rainbow flag.
Right.
They think that movement really doesn't speak for them.
I agree. I understand.
I think that would be a distinction.
Yes.
In that kind of social contagion.
Okay, so we have some middle ground then. So somebody can be gay, but not make it this activism part.
Yeah, that the identity is actually different from, as a point that you've explained very well, that others were missing, I think.
It was a little bit hard to see so many people raising their flags to vote me out in this moment. I don't know why. I thought that I was doing very, very well. I had a couple of friends say, Gilbert, I saw the show and I noticed that everybody raised their flags the moment you said that, maybe we have some middle ground. It was almost like they don't want you to have middle ground with him. If you start having some kind of mutual understanding, they're going to raise their red flags because they want to see you berate each other. They want to see you attack him. They don't want to see any kind of reconciliation. Now, I don't know that I believe that that's true. I don't know people's motives. I don't like to try and guess or try to figure it out. They've raised their flags for whatever reasons that they thought that they should raise their flags for. But it was a little bit hurtful.
It can be an aspect of your desire or whatever. It doesn't have to be your identity, which that has clearly become a social contagion.
The totality of your identity. But it is part of your identity, Michael. My being gay will never change. So it is part of who I am.
This might be my favorite moment in our interaction. It almost actually brings a tear to my eye because this has been how so many conversations have gone for me, being in a close relationship with somebody who is very, very conservative. They don't want to accept that I am gay, that I've been gay since birth, that my being gay is never going to change. It's something that they want to dismiss, ignore, believe is going to change, and it's dependent on me, that I need to have enough faith in God to change me, that if I'm not believing strong enough, then I'm being rebellious because I haven't surrendered that. There's all of these ideas and ideologies that they have, and no amount of wisdom or knowledge or consistency or good fruit in my life is ever going to convince them otherwise, because it's so fundamental to how they see this issue. You can just beat a dead horse so many times before you have to move on. And I think that there's a difference between keeping people in your life that you just disagree with and keeping people in your life that create this toxicity in your soul. It's like drinking poison being around them, because it's not, I just want you to accept everything about me. I don't care if you don't like that I love Celine Dion or that you don't love that I love pizza. We're talking about the fabric of who I am. And even though being gay is not everything about me, it really is part of me. It's like somebody saying, I can't be around you because you're a woman, or I can't be around you because you're Mexican or black or because you're white. How can you attack things and say I disagree with things about somebody that is part of the way that they were designed and made? There was never a choice in it. You can't change these things. That to me is the root of so much of this misunderstanding. Being gay is the way that God designs people. It's never going to change. And to challenge that just continues to breed strife in all relationships and within the people themselves on both sides of this issue.
You don't need to shack up with a man. You can. I'm not saying you can't.
So you think that I should be celibate?
In the Bible, celibacy is a choice. It's a sacrifice. It's never something that you are required to do. You're actually sacrificing something that is good. It's good to be in a romantic relationship and to get married with somebody. That's a good thing. It's just like when you give your tithes or your offerings, you're giving your first fruits. Those are good things. That's why it's a sacrifice. If you give up something that's not good, it's not a sacrifice. To advocate for celibacy for a gay person, you're really just asking them not to sin. And it's only because in your mind you believe it's sin. It's not sin. What you're failing to realize is that God is love, and a component of love is sexuality. That's like saying you can have a wife if you're a straight man, but you could never tell her you love her because it might mean something perverted. You could never hug her because you might get your jollies by doing that. You could never kiss her. You just have to treat her almost like your sister. How would a straight man feel if somebody told him that about his wife? How hopeless would that make you feel? That's what people are doing to gay people when you tell them those things, that they are never going to be worthy of being touched or being held or being told that they're loved or being kissed, raising a family or growing old with someone. You're advocating to have all of those things taken away from them. This is why a lot of the community, LGBT community, is not rushing to go into your church. There's something healing about advocating for somebody to be alienated from their own emotions and from connecting in the most intimate way to another human being.
Well, I'm Catholic, so I would recommend chastity and all the rest. But
right.
That's up for you to decide. I'm not saying you have to do that. You could, for all of human history,
You can vote out from your seat.
It was a pleasure, Michael.
Such a pleasure. Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
We do have some comments and some questions from viewers, so let's get right into those. Katarina says, do you feel like you or even Michael got anything out of the debate? Yes, absolutely. I feel like Michael and I had a great conversation, a great debate. It wasn't too long. I would love to talk to him again. I think that we both challenged each other. You can always walk away thinking, wow, that was a perspective that I had never considered before, or sometimes it can strengthen your stance. Wow, now I know an even better way to articulate my stance because I was up against somebody who brought something else in that I now know how to respond to even better. So yeah, definitely, absolutely. Thank you for the comment. Luke wants to know, do you have hope that Michael Knowles will change his mind on LGBTQ issues? Well, yeah, of course. I think that that's kind of the hope that I go into whenever I have a conversation with somebody, is that at some point or another, in the quietness of their moments alone or when they're laying their head on their pillow at night, that they'll reflect on our conversation. And because I do that, I think about things in the shower. It's my big thing is in the shower. So I'm always rehashing conversations. So yeah, I do hope that he'll reconsider and be more open to my community. Aaron wants to know, how are you so fierce? I have 2 words for you. Jesus. Donnie says, how can I have a question when you slay? I love you too, Donnie. Thank you. Luke wants to know, were all the activists in accord with each other, or were there any disagreements before or after? So we do have a recap video, not all of us, but some of us that were on the show and some that didn't speak as much, got together in Los Angeles and had a recap video. I'll put the link within this video so you can check it out. There's a lot of us that are still keeping in touch, and there is a diversity of thought, as we called it in the video. Not everybody there sees these issues the same way, and I think that that's really important. Mason, who is part of this group, he's been on 10 episodes of Jubilee so far. Amazing. But he had said something about the LGBT community being not a monolith, that we're all different and we're all diverse. It's funny because people just assume that we're all liberal because it's a conservative versus 25 LGBTQ activists. Not everybody there was a liberal. I'm sure maybe most people there were liberal, but there were some of us that were not liberal, that we were either independents or we were moderates, centrists. There were even some Republicans that were there. At least one that I know of, Frank, that raised his flag for me. He's a conservative Republican. So yeah, there is a lot of diversity of even views within the LGBTQ community. I don't think that it's accurate at all to just assume that somebody who's part of the LGBT community, even as an activist, is on the left. You would be wrong. Sam writes in and says, hey Gilbert, loved your segment with Michael. I know time was limited, but I was thinking it would have been cool if you had the chance to ask him, so Michael, since you're pro small government and individual freedoms, why wouldn't you be in favor of gay people getting married? Since it doesn't hurt anyone, and it would also fall into the idea of separating church and state. Is that something that you would have felt comfortable asking him, Gilbert? You both seem to be comfortable with one another during that discussion. Seems like you would have been able to really consider that. Sam, that's a great question. And I'm so upset that I didn't think about that in real time when I was there with him. Absolutely. Now, I do think that he would say, well, individual freedoms have a limit if they start to oppose the natural order or God's way, or he's Catholic, or his Catholic beliefs. So those are the exceptions, right? That you can't just do whatever you want whenever you want, even if it doesn't seem like you're hurting someone, because I'm sure he would have moral objections to things, even if it's consenting adults, right? I'm assuming he would. Yeah, but I agree with you. In gay marriage, you're wanting to be committed. You're wanting to be monogamous. You're wanting to build a life with somebody. These are all things that he cherishes and values in his Catholic faith, why would that be something that he's objecting to? They're both men. If he wants to have the biblical conversation, I can have the biblical conversation. No tea, no shade implied here, but he's Catholic. We can have that conversation another time. Catholics, well, I don't want to get into too much hot water, but Catholicism does not prioritize the Bible. That will be for a different day, because I don't want to open up that can of worms right now. But I can have that Bible conversation with him. Great question, Sam. And yes, I would. An anonymous viewer has written in and said, I just wanted to say thank you so much for standing up for gay Christians. I'm far too scared to say the things you do publicly. You can share my question, but please don't share who I am. I wanted to ask, how do you respond to conservative Christians that talk about the bad fruit in the way that some gay people live? They say that most gay people are lost or reckless in their lifestyle choices, and they have no faith in God, or knew God as children one time, but then ran away as adults. How do you respond to that? I see it as church people guarding a well. The well has clean, purified water of life in it, right? Representing Jesus. And they're guarding it. All of a sudden, a gay person comes up and says, hey, I want to drink there. And the church people go, you can't drink here. You're a filthy, dirty sinner. This is for us. This is for straight people. Well, we're all designed with thirst. I do believe that there's, as they say, a God-shaped hole in all of our hearts. So that thirst needs to be quenched somehow. But because you're guarding the well, that gay person is like, well, then I'll go drink somewhere else. I'll go find a drink where I'm wanted, where I'm able to access that water. So they may go find a lake or a stream or a river or a pond. Maybe they don't even have those options. They have to find an abandoned swimming pool or just anything that they can to get that quench satisfied. Then the people that are guarding the well turn and say, ew, look at that gay person. Look at them, what they're drinking. They're drinking that filthy lake water, that muddy sewage, that disgusting abandoned swimming pool. Look how nasty they are. Well, hold on. They tried to go for the same thing that you were drinking, but you told them that they couldn't go. You pushed them into trying to satisfy that thirst in all these other places. So you're to blame. The blood is on your hands. You are the one that ostracized them and caused them to go around recklessly, living a life that is lost. That's your fault. I believe as the church, the blood is on our hands as to why the LGBT community isn't running to go pound down the doors and live a godly Christian life. I'm a Christian, so this is my perspective. It's the church's fault. The church has done this to the community. The church has been the cause for so much bad fruit within the LGBTQ community. And I think that it's time that the church finally acknowledges it. Sean Rocker says, what can really be said or done when dealing with someone such as Knowles, who's senseless on reality? You know, I try to see where he's coming from. I do know it's a cultural thing. I mean, people are products of their environment, right? So it's probably, a lot of it probably has to do with how he was raised. But he does have an intellect about him. So that was my approach, was to get him to see things from a critical thinking kind of way. I think I did, which is why it scared him, which is why I think he segued into different topics. But I was like a pit bull. When I'm arguing with somebody and they're trying to get me to different directions, I don't usually take the bait. I'm like, no, we're going to stay on track here. Did you get the chance to talk more off camera? Yes, Tyler, I did. So after we were done filming, me and Michael got to take a picture together, and I wanted to do this video thing with him. And it was really, really cool. And I got to tell him that I did like him, that I did watch him. And I actually complimented him on being so calm, because even though what he was saying is inflammatory, and it is very inflammatory, he kept us cool. I don't know that I could do that. Well, I guess I did, but I mean, yeah, it's a lot, especially when you're surrounded by so many people. And if you watch him, he does this a lot. He goes to college campuses a lot. And no matter how angry and irate somebody comes at him, he stays pretty calm. He does a smiling thing where he smiles at them, right? I know that rubs some people the wrong way, but he stays calm. So I thought that I would tell him that is definitely something that I couldn't do. Okay, I'm gonna do a little video thing.
All right, hello.
So, hello, this is Michael Knowles, who I'm a big fan of.
Stop it, get out of here.
I really am. And we got to talk today. And did you enjoy our conversation?
I very much did.
Are you shocked that I'm a Christian?
I'm not shocked. No,
You're not?
I'm not shocked at all. I like that cross on you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Very similar.
I was raised Catholic.
Were you?
Yes, I was.
Are we going to get you back?
I don't know, maybe. We'll see.
It's never too late.
It's never too late.
Never too late.
What was your favorite experience, or your favorite part about this experience?
I really quite liked everyone. Even the feisty ones and the more reasonable ones, they're both good. We have another ex-Catholic, but you're never ex-Catholic.
What was that?
You remember X-Cat? You're a little lapsed, but that's all right. And so I really quite liked it. It was a lot of fun.
Tyler, 314-159 with a period in there, says, did you feel fairly represented by the majority of the other participants Jubilee casted or not? Again, it's a very good conversation because not everybody there thinks the same way. There is diversity of thought amongst LGBT people. Not everybody is a progressive, far left activist. Many people are somewhere in the middle or right. I think there are even far right LGBTQ people that are activists, perhaps, maybe. I felt pretty represented. Well, kind of. I think no, because there were some reaction people that they did kind of paint us all as one brush.
There's 25 of you, and not one of y'all can get one lick on Michael Knowles. Not one of you have said one thing that, as someone who can find disagreement with Michael Knowles, I'm able to be like, oh yeah, they got him there. That's pathetic.
There was also some videos where somebody said, Michael, surrounded by a bunch of libs.
He up there because he said it's not possible to define marriage, but he defined it. And the other thing too, when you debate liberals, you have to have static terms.
And I'm like, who said they were libs? I don't like the binary talk that way, the black and white. You're either on the left or you're on the right. That just really frustrates me. I don't like that. I don't like the us versus them where everybody has to subscribe to a political agenda or opinion. It takes away our individuality. I am very much an individual. I get rebellious when I have to join a certain thing or be forced to have a certain view just because I'm a man or just because I'm brown or just because I'm gay. I don't like that. That's not me. So I thought I was able to express my views as an individual, and clearly the comments picked up on that, but not everybody sees it that way. I think a lot of people brushed me as brushed us all as one stroke of one kind of person in a bunch of different bodies, and that really takes away from our individuality. I think I had more of an issue with how people perceive us versus what Jubilee did to present us, so to speak. Although Jubilee knows what they're doing, they crafted it this way for his claims to be so aggressive and inflammatory. That was on purpose to get us all upset. Ariel Shore says, the cringing response is so effective. I didn't mean it to, that was just very authentic.
One could either, if one has these same-sex attractions, could still like marry a woman, or could be celibate, or could just not, or could just not, or could just not,
When he said that, I was like, oh, no. You don't really believe, do people still believe it in 2025? They do. And I've seen some of those comments. People are like, we're still talking about that right now. Well, yeah, because people still see that this way, that a man should marry a woman, period. That's just the way it is. Even if the guy's not into it, he should still marry her. That's the world we live in, even today in 2025. So I couldn't help but I still have a reaction to hearing that. I'm like, really? No, it's not okay. Next, we have a comment from Jenny Carlin. And she says, this is great, honest and open and real. He's fumbling because his own truth has problems. I like how thoughtful you were with your answers regarding women. Oh, I appreciate that very, very much. And yes, I do think he's fumbling. I think in his mind, he was owning his previous conversations. But in this one, he's like, I have to really defend this view against this guy that's really tearing it out from underneath me. And I don't know how to defend this view. I think on some level, he knows it's not ethical. But he can't say that because he's already committed to that being his stance. So yeah, I agree with you. I think he fumbled a little bit. He knows it's not ethical. That's why he didn't answer your question. I love you for saying that. It's true. Yeah, he was arguing for a terrible position and he knew it. I wanted him to say that though. I really wanted him to say it, but he didn't give me that. He didn't admit it that, okay, you're right. That's not ethical. Then maybe just celibacy or only if the man is bi. Ugh. Maybe I'll get him to say it one day. Chantel says, thank you for bringing out his real truth, which is, I don't really care how fulfilling marriage is for a woman. She's really just here to serve men. You made such a perfect point that I haven't heard before, which is it ethical? Bravo. Aw, thank you so much, Chantal. I really appreciate it. When you're being loving, where you're supposed to be a Christian, you're supposed to be loving, you're supposed to consider the other person. I'm taking that away from her to have a man that would want her the ways that I don't. I think it's incredibly selfish and evil. I don't think it's Christian to do that at all. Even if you are not okay with being gay, then be single, be celibate. Don't put all of that on her shoulders to affirm you as a man and make you feel manly. And it's so gross. Sorry, I'm sharing too much of my opinions, but thank you for saying that. Brian Michael Hines says, such a good point to ask Michael that. I was there, being closeted, still managing to sleep with a woman and being in a relationship with her. And there's no way that's the right way to go. It's not an option to live constantly against the way that you feel on the inside for external fitting in type of reasons. Well done, Gilbert. Oh, Brian, I just had said what I just said, and you're like, I mean, if anything, it's confirmation that you lived it. And I'll be honest, I don't know how much I'm willing to share here on a personal level, but I've known people in my life. One person I had really strong feelings for. Maybe that's why I'm personally invested in this. For like 7 years. I was in love with this guy for 7 years, and he did this. And him and I used to argue. I used to tell him, think about the other woman. And he used to push back. Well, maybe that's her call to be there for me and to make me feel like a man and to own that. So gross. Just because a woman, and this will come up probably when we talk about lavender marriages, just because a woman will consent to it doesn't make it ethical, right? There are women that allow and consent to their husbands beating them up every day, and they wear sunglasses to cover their black eyes. Oh, well, he's nice sometimes, but, I want to stay with him. I want to be a good wife. Does that make it ethical for him to beat her because she's consenting to it like that? No, sometimes consent, and sometimes because someone's willing to go along with it, still doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it ethical because you're getting away with something. That person's allowing you to get away with it, but you're still accountable for it. You're still accountable for the suffering you're causing on that other person. So I thank you, Brian, that you wrote this, and I thank you for your honesty and vulnerability in sharing something like this. That was a lot to share, but hey, at least you clearly have repented of this, and you're living now openly and honestly. And I don't know your situation. I'm hoping that your ex and you have a good relationship now. So the truth will set you free, right? And the truth does always come out. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really, really do appreciate that. Bailey says, he says this because he does not see women as people. He doesn't respect women. He doesn't understand that women are not service machines. We are all here with one guaranteed life, long or short. He doesn't mind if a woman's life is stolen for the personal gain of men. This is a fundamental belief that influences the decisions of all types of men in many different ways. Wow, what a really strong comment. Thank you so much for leaving this. And what an advocacy for women in a comment like this, to call out those men, not all men, clearly, but the men that really don't see women as anything other than people that need to serve them, men that do not see women as an equal. Women deserve the same access to being able to have their hopes and dreams and their selves satisfied and their needs met the way that they do because they're men. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And this, unfortunately, I don't want to make any character attacks on Michael because I don't know him that well and I don't want to just shame him, but I will say the ideology behind what he's saying really does not consider the woman. It's about just telling her, well, if I'm going to be your husband, this is what I'm going to do. So you'll be okay with that because I'm providing for you. I'm putting a roof over your head. I'm going to give you kids. Who cares if I hate it? If I'm going to gag every time that we have intercourse, who cares? Because I'm giving it to you. So you meet my needs of making it look like I'm straight so I can live that life. That's not Christian. That is such a self-centered, narcissistic, apathetic way to live. I hope that that's not where Michael's coming from, but he's definitely sprouting out views that make it seem like that's who he is. So Michael, correct that real quick because I don't want you looking that way. Massive shout out to the gay guy. Thank you, Officer Bosalak. Officer Bosalak. I appreciate it. Cat Killpack says, you could have said how unfulfilling it would be for the gay man to be married to a woman, and yet you thought about her needs and desires instead. Thank you for selflessly advocating for her in that moment, even though he was attacking your sexuality. It brought tears to my eyes. Aww. I appreciate that. Mikey Johnny says, you did great. Glad the DW, I think the Daily Wire sphere drones are getting pushback. Yeah, I do think the Daily Wire, well, they're getting some pushback right now because of what happened with Brett Cooper. A lot of people are very team Brett Cooper. And so Daily Wire has been getting some heat, I think, for a little bit. And I do think that there's mixed reviews about how that Jubilee episode went with Michael. But I think in this instance, when it comes to what Michael and I talked about, I do think that most people are on my side. And Michael's getting some heat about that. So I appreciate you putting that out there. Pat Starr says, they talk about the sanctity of marriage, but think it's fine as long as the people who fake it look straight. Yeah. It's about external appearances, my friend. That's exactly what's going on here. Once again, gay men are proving their true love for women over hetero men. Well, I know a lot of heterosexual men that really do love women, but all my heroes are women. Well, except for Michael Jackson. But all my other heroes in life are women, whether real women or fictional women from movies, comic books, cartoons, or real life women, religious leaders, pop stars, actresses.
How do you expect me to grow if you won't let me blow? You go, girl!
Susan, I'm gay.
Thanks for the lesson, but I don't need you to tell me who I am.
I don't care if you like us, because we don't like you. You're a bad person with an ugly heart, and we don't give a flying f what you think.
I will not carry myself down to die. When I go to my grave, my head will be high. That is a choice. There are no victims in this classroom.
I summon the full power of the storm!
All of my heroes have been women, except for Michael Jackson. All I see is two men discussing how to use women, use them to make a baby, or use them to get by in life. Gay or straight, always the same. With all due respect, sir or ma'am, whoever you are, you didn't listen to a word I said. So let's get this straight. He's advocating for DL men. DL means down low. And what that means is you are a man that's married to a woman, but you mess around with men on the side in secret. You cheat on her. That's a DL man. It's really popular in the gay community, unfortunately. I don't think that that's ethical, right? Because although I think that you should be open and honest about who you are, well, that's not ethical. That's not open and honest, right? You're cheating on somebody. It's basically what happened in Brokeback Mountain, which is why I hate that movie. That movie was terrible because they were cheating on wives. They had wives. Jack nasty. Remember? Yeah, I don't think that's good representation for gay people. But anyway, that's another topic. He did gay corn. Oh, there is a student film Michael did where he played a gay character and slept with a guy. There's like a bed scene where they like got it on or something. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. I didn't bring it up. I don't think anybody brought it up during the debate on Surrounded, but I knew about it before that, but I just didn't want to go there. I don't know. I don't think that would have helped my argument at all, but it is a thing that happened. Okay, so either marry someone that you don't love and deprive them of having a loving relationship where there's mutual connection, or spend the rest of your life lonely. Yeah, those are pretty much the choices that he's giving to gay people, and then he wonders why not everybody wants to join his religion. Because it's so enticing, right? Anyone else just noticing the gay dude is making it way too much about sexuality? Michael is literally talking about dudes that could be attracted to both, who fulfill the role as a husband. It's not that deep, and it's not wrong. Okay, this guy's either a troll, or he has really terrible comprehension, because I already discussed this. It's not about bi men. Bi men, of course, are ethical. So when Michael brought up about how some men could do it, they're probably bi.
I know a disproportionate number of guys who are a little light in the loafers. Some of them probably could marry a woman.
That, to me, was irrelevant. So I just stayed on topic because we're not talking about bi men. We're not talking about lesbians. We're not talking about trans people. We're talking about gay men. We established that in the beginning.
Gay or lesbian or bisexual, trans. Well, actually, let's go just to the gay because I'm gay. Yeah. So I'll talk about that.
So I'm not going to take Michael's bait to go to a different situation. I purposely did not let him switch topics by bringing up a bi guy, because of course that would be ethical. He's a Mormon. Did you mean moron? That's not nice. But no, he's actually Catholic. The gay guy won this one. Woohoo! That would be me. Thanks. Telling on himself. I think I know what you meant by that. That might come up again. Tore him up. Bravo. Why, thank you. I appreciate that. Also, what woman would want to have sex with a man who says, I'm not attracted to you or in love with you? You know, you'd be surprised. There are some women that I think would be okay with that. Like I was saying, there are women that allow men to beat them. There are men that allow other men to beat them and to use them. And I mean, you know, people consent to some different things. We can talk about self-respect and self-worth in a different video, but I get what you mean by that. It's a relevant question to ask. Your capacity for empathy is beautiful. Thank you for this insight that I never thought of as a woman myself. You're very welcome. Like I said, women are my heroes. So it has nothing to do with love. It's all about appearing like the perfect American family. It's insane to admit that. Yeah, like they said the quiet part out loud. Michael said the quiet part out loud. It's about how it looks. It's not a good look. Especially because most people see through it, right? When you meet somebody and Cindy's like, this is my husband, Frank. And Frank's like, hey girl, I'm Frank. My wife is so beautiful. I know I'm perpetuating stereotypes, but let's just get real for a minute, okay? And I've been in these circles of gay men, deeply closeted gay men, and they all cling together, constantly putting themselves in temptation all the time. They have sleepovers and even well into their 20s and 30s. And they're like, I'm just waiting for my wife right now because, you know, Catherine McPhee, she's going to be wifey one day. Tori Kelly's going to be wifey one day. Yeah, I'm going to marry her. Yeah.
Girl, please. Girl, please. No. Sorry. Next.
They're like doing the Beyonce choreography. I do it with them, right? I'm like, let's do the Britney choreography. Yes. Maybe one day Beyonce will marry me. Girl, you ain't fooling no one. But this is the thing. As long as they don't say it that they're gay, they can live out this delusion. And then many of them marry women. I have literally seen it with my own eyes. These communities exist. Gilbert, this was enlightening. Even as an ally, I never really thought about it this way. Also, it upsets me that this guy's view on this is that you should deny who you truly are to make society feel better when who you are hurts no one. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Did Michael have beef with every gay guy in LA or what? Why is he so pressed about their physical reality? It's a good conversation. Yeah, can you imagine if Michael comes back to LA? Well, he was here in LA, but if he walks down the street, all the gays are like... Not me. I'd be like, hi, Michael. I would like to see him again. I enjoy talking to him. My grandmother has been trapped in one of these marriages for decades. She's miserable. So you're absolutely right. It's not an ethical thing to do to someone. Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that. My heart goes out to your grandma. Some people feel trapped, right? Because they got married. They made that decision. So now they feel trapped in that. So I understand. I'm really sorry. I feel for your grandma. I had so much fun debating Michael Knowles. I would love to do it again. If you're watching this, Michael Knowles, it was so great to meet you. And I would love to do it again someday or just have a conversation with you. We don't have to have a debate. Thank you, Jubilee, for the opportunity. If this is your first time being here, hanging out with me, I would love to get to know you more. Please smash that subscribe button, ring the bell so that you get notified when I drop another video like this, and smash the like button and drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought of my debate with Michael Knowles and the conversation at large, and just anything else that you may want to share, because I do read the comments. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you. Till next time, I love you, God bless you, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah! Bye!